It's been a busy year for Kia. The South Korean brand has been expanding its compact SUV lineup with the all-new Stonic and Nero, which makes a lot of sense because unless you've been living under a rock, you'll have noticed that these compact SUVs have become incredibly popular. But their popularity has come at the expense of small cars. But while some brands have been scaling back on their small cars, Kia has quite shrewdly maintained its presence. The result is the Kia Cerato is not only the brand's best-selling individual model, it's actually now the third best-selling small car behind only the Toyota Corolla and the Hyundai i30. This is the new look Cerato in more ways than one, because not only does it have a few styling tweaks to keep it fresh, it's also the first model in the country to sport the new Kia logo. Now you'll be seeing a lot more of this over the next few years as the brand tries to freshen up its entire image. So that Kia logo is going to roll out across dealerships and on some exciting new models in the years to come. But for now, we're here to talk about the Cerato, so let's get on with it. Now there are a lot of funny cat videos and videos of people unboxing things on the internet. So if you are in a hurry and just want to learn about a particular aspect of the Cerato, you can skip ahead. There are time codes on the screen over here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check out the little chapter markers down here somewhere. Now, if you want to read our full written review, there'll be a link to that in the description below the chapter markers. But for now, let's get started breaking down this 2021 Kia Cerato, and we'll start with the design changes. To be honest, the most obvious change with the new Cerato is the badge. This new stylized logo really stands out. It's a more modern, sleeker look in keeping with the brand's aspirations of producing more premium upmarket models as it continues its march up the sales charts. There are other subtle changes too. At the front, there's a new grille that extends into a new headlight design. Beneath that, the lower bumper has been restyled for what the company claims is more sleekness, with the fog lights now integrated into the air intake. Along the side, the only major changes are the wheel designs for the Sport and Sport Plus models, which get new look 17-inch alloys to create more differentiation between the various trim levels. The rear end of the hatch is unchanged, but the sedan gets a more significant makeover. There are new tail lights and new rear bumper design to create a more flowing appearance. The exhaust varies between models too, with the S, Sport and Sport Plus now getting hidden pipes, while the GT gets a sporty twin-tip design. Inside, Kia continues to improve its design while retaining its excellent functionality. The brand typically designs some of the most user-friendly interiors on the market. Now, I'll get to the nitty-gritty of the cabin and its features soon, and if you can't wait, you can skip ahead. But first, let me run you through the range and its pricing. Pricing has actually been on the rise all year. Kia actually gave the outgoing model a small increase back in April, and now this facelifted model brings some subtle changes to the pricing again. However, the biggest single change has been Kia Australia's decision to drop the manual transmission from both the S and Sport models, which means that the entry price to the Cerato range has now increased by $3,800 compared to where it was at the start of 2021. However, Kia is doing drive-away pricing across the range. There are hatch and sedan options for each trim line, so there's plenty of options for buyers. The Cerato S begins the range and comes well equipped for its asking price. Carryover standard gear includes 16-inch steel wheels, cloth trim, front and rear parking sensors and cruise control. New equipment for this update are LED daytime running lights, upgrades to the infotainment system and some extra safety features which we'll explore in detail soon. Stepping up to the Cerato Sport brings the new look 17-inch alloy wheels, a new 10.2-inch infotainment screen, digital radio, navigation, and sport pattern cloth trim. The Sport Plus gets keyless entry and ignition, dual-zone climate control, and leather-appointed seats that are heated in the front. It also gets an electric park brake that brings with it a larger rear brake discs. As for the GT, in addition to its unique powertrain, which we'll detail in a few moments, it gets 18-inch alloy wheels, LED daytime headlights and tail lights, and also gets a unique body kit for a sportier look. Inside, there's an 8-speaker JBL sound system, as well as a wireless charging pad, and new inclusions for this facelifted model, a sunroof, and ventilated front leather seats. While prices may have risen, there's no question that the Cerato remains a good value small car, especially against its direct rivals, the Corolla and the i30, particularly when you factor in the driveway pricing. Now, let's jump inside and take a look at the interior. Inside, the changes are again pretty subtle from a design point of view, but that's all right because the Cerato is already sort of one of the more better presented and really more thoughtful cabins that you'll get in the small car class. That's really Kia's speciality, is thinking about the practical use of a car. So, you know, there's USB ports down here, but there's also somewhere to actually put your phone that you're charging off the USB port. On this GT line, there's also a smartphone charging pad up there as well. So everything is sort of well thought out, well laid out to actually make it an easy car to live with. Obviously, this GT model is a bit plush. It's got these nice leather seats that look good, and they've got some good side bolstering. If you do want to throw it around the corner, they'll hug you pretty tight. However, the big ticket addition is this new 10.2-inch infotainment screen. That's on all models except the S, and it brings Kia's new infotainment system. So the software itself is updated. So you get new graphics, but also some new features such as quiet mode, which allows you to kill the speakers in the back. So, if your kids are sleeping or they just hate your taste in music, you can turn that down. It's got the sounds of nature, which if you're a keen Kia spotter, you'll realize that that's been on a couple of Kia and Hyundai models already, and basically just plays sounds like waves lapping on the beach or someone walking through snow. It's a nice little addition just to help kids go to sleep in theory. But, it's not really an everyday practical item. The key is that this new screen does provide, excellent visibility if you want to look at the nav or just scroll through the menus. It's a really user-friendly system, and it really does sort of add a more premium touch across the range. The entry-level S model does miss out on this bigger screen, though. It just gets the carryover 8-inch screen with the old infotainment system. However, it does get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which does work wirelessly now for the first time, which the 10.2 system doesn't offer. Back here, space is actually pretty good for a small car. Obviously, it's not what you'd call roomy, but I'm about 180 centimeters tall. I'm sitting behind my own driving position, and I'm not touching the seats in front of me. So sure, I wouldn't want to go for a cross-country journey in the back of the Cerato, but it's perfectly capable of taking small kids and even teenagers pretty comfortably on everyday duties. The big additions back here are actually rear air vents, which were missing on the previous model. Kia's listened to some feedback on that and added the air conditioning vents so you can breathe a bit more easy back here. And there's also, again, just getting back to that thoughtfulness that Kia has with the cabins, is there is a USB charging port down here, so you can keep your gadgets all charged up when you're on the go. We'll go into it more in the safety section, but one new addition to the GT Sport Plus and the cars equipped with a safety pack is rear exit alert, which does mean when you open the door, it can sound an alarm if you're going to basically open the door into oncoming traffic. So that's a good little safety feature, particularly if you've got young kids who like to jump out of the car. Anyway, let's take a look at the boot. Kia claims there's 502 litres of boot space for the sedan, which gives it bragging rights over the hatch with its 428 litres. It's quite a good boot for a small car. It's nice and big and wide. The floor is a little high, but overall, it's going to be plenty capable of dealing with your usual small car duties. Now, before we move on to the next chapter, have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Make sure you hit that bell icon and you'll be alerted every time there's a new video so you can stay fully up to date. Now, let's check out the safety features of this new Cerato. The Kia Cerato is actually one of a growing number of cars in this country that are getting what's called a split safety rating. That means that the entry grade models, the S and the Sport, miss out on some key features which restrict them to only a 4-star rating. But the rest of the range get those features so they have the maximum 5-star ANCAP score. Let me break that down for you in detail. The primary reason for this split rating is that the standard S and Sport models miss out on blind spot detection, rear cross traffic alert, and autonomous emergency braking with cyclist avoidance. Although, to be clear, it does have AEB with car and pedestrian warning included. However, Kia does offer an optional safety pack that upgrades the S and Sport to a 5-star rating by including those missing features, but it does add $1,500 to the price. This also played a major role in Kia's decision to drop the manual transmission,
as it's incompatible with the upgraded AEB system, and under ANCAP's rules, if the Cerato was offered without the safety pack, the entire range would score 4 stars, even though the Sport Plus and GT have earned their 5-star rating. All models in the range come with a solid suite of active safety features, including not only AEB, but also lane keep assist, lane follow assist, driver attention alert, and speed warning. There's also new safety features as part of this update, specifically blind spot collision avoidance assist and rear cross traffic alert with collision avoidance assist. Both are only available on the Sport Plus and GT. But all models now get high beam assist, while the safety pack, Sport Plus and GT also get safety exit warning when you open the door.
Next up, let's take a look at what's under the bonnet. Kia has opted to carry over the powertrains from the previous model. That means all models are powered by a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, except for this range-topping GT, which gets a 1.6-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder for extra punch. Let's take a look at the detail, shall we?
The S, Sport and Sport Plus have the 2-litre 4-cylinder engine that makes 112 kilowatts of power and 192 newton meters of torque. As mentioned earlier, Kia has dropped the previous 6-speed manual, so the 2-litre is paired exclusively to a 6-speed automatic transmission across all these variants. Befitting its role as the halo model of the Cerato range, the GT gets a more potent engine. The 1.6 turbocharged 4-cylinder makes 150 kilowatts of power and 265 newton meters of torque. It's mated to a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox as standard. If that GT engine sounds familiar, that's because it's what you'll find in the Hyundai i30 N-Line models and the upcoming new Hyundai i20N. It's a sporty engine without being a full-blown hot hatch motor.
So that's how much grunt they make. Let's take a look at how much fuel they use. The Kia Cerato comes with 2 engine options and 2 body styles, but to be honest, there's not a lot of difference between the hatch and the sedan when it comes to fuel economy, as you can see on the screen now. As what we've achieved on test, well, you can see those figures there. Now that's for the S and the GT, but to be fair to those figures, most of our driving was done on back roads and not a lot of highway mileage, so they probably are skewed a little bit higher than what they would be in the real world. Now, let's take a look at ownership costs.
Kia Australia has long led the way when it comes to ownership costs and peace of mind, with its 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty. The brand also offers 7 years of CapPro servicing and 7 years of roadside assistance. The service intervals for the 2-litre are every 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, and the costs vary between $275 to $339 for a minor service and $469 to $623 for a major one. Service intervals for the 1.6-litre are shorter, 12 months but only 10,000 kilometres, and the costs are typically higher. Minor checkups range between $282 to $346, and a major tune-up can cost between $476 and $640. The average annual cost over the 7 years of cap price coverage is $419 for the 2-litre models and $470 for the GT, which isn't particularly cheap, but you know what you're getting.
Now be sure to hit that little pop-out box at the top of the screen there to read my full detailed review. You'll not only get all you want to know about the servicing costs, but everything else about the Cerato. Now, let's get to the fun stuff and see how it drives. The GT is the flagship of the range, but it is important to note that despite its turbocharged engine and its sporty name, this isn't a hot hatch. It's more of a warmed up one. So if you're expecting i30N thrills, you'll be disappointed. But if you want a luxurious small car with a bit more pep, well then this really fits the bill. Kia has tried to improve the handling of the GT though for this update by giving another path through its local engineering program. The challenges of COVID did make that a little more difficult than usual, so they've settled on new shock absorbers, which are designed to give it a bit more compliance. They're just trying to strike that balance between comfort and control, and they've done a pretty good job. You know, for a small car, for what it is, like I say, a warmed up hatch rather than a hot one. It's a good car to drive. It is comfortable enough to live with every day, but certainly you can have a bit of fun with it if you do find yourself in some corners. One element of the GT that does stand out though is how quiet it is. Even at highway speeds, I was sort of surprised by just how insulated you feel in the cabin. It does add to that feeling of refinement that you expect from what is the range top-end model. While the GT is undoubtedly the hero model in the range, the biggest seller is going to be the entry-level S with its 2-litre engine and its less sophisticated suspension. But neither of those things make it a bad car, just a different one. Small cars are typically used for the urban commute, and in that sense, the Cerato S is actually quite impressive. It's an easy car to drive around town. It's agile, the engine's quite responsive. For what it is, it's not going to win you too many traffic light Grand Prix, but it does the job that you expect. And the auto shifts smoothly and really does a good job of getting the best out of it. Kia Australia opted not to change any elements of the suspension setup for the S, and that's no bad thing either, because it was already quite a good car. It's obviously more balanced towards comfort around town than the GT, but it does a good job of that. It's not never feels really fussy or troubled, and certainly when we've taken it out on some twisty roads as part of our evaluation here, it stood up quite well as a fun little small car to drive even on the open road. Overall, this updated Cerato range impresses with the way it drives, largely because it's not trying to be anything that it isn't. The GT isn't trying to be a hot hatch, and the regular rest of the range with the 2-litre engine isn't really trying to be anything too fancy. It's just a good, simple, straightforward small car. So, what's our verdict on the 2021 Kia Cerato? Well, the GT is certainly a nice car, and it's got more bells and whistles and a bit more go under the bonnet than the rest of the range. But our pick would actually be the entry-level S with the safety pack. And that's what most people buy, and it's easy to understand why, because it offers good value for money and a pleasant drive. So what would your pick of this range be? Let us know in the comments. Here's the overall score for the Kia Cerato range. And if you want to understand that score better, make sure you check out our full written review that's on the website now.